Hey friends, happy Monday and welcome back to another weekly What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share weekly What's for Dinner videos just like this every Monday to hopefully motivate you to cook more for your family and to give you some new meal ideas. We tried one or two new recipes. One of them is like I just kind of threw stuff together. The other one is like actually a recipe that I followed strictly pretty much. So yeah, a couple new things that you might not have seen before on my channel. So let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Starting off with what might be my favorite meal of the week, we've got some baked chicken cutlets and creamy lemon orzo. Starting off here with some breadcrumbs. I thought I was recording and then I wasn't, but it's a little more than half a cup of breadcrumbs and then some salt, pepper. I used dried herbs. I did some dried dill and some dried chives, some Parmesan cheese, the zest from one lemon, mix that around really well. And then in another bowl, I'm going to add an egg and scramble it and then add some salt and pepper to that as well. This is going to be used to bread our chicken. I've got two chicken breasts that I have sliced in half horizontally so they're thin, but then I'm going to add them into a Ziploc bag and beat them with my meat mallet so that they are even thinner. And then I will dip them in the egg mixture and then in the breadcrumb mixture, coating them all over really well. Then I have lined a sheet pan with some parchment paper, and that is where I am putting the chicken, and I'm going to put those in an oven that is preheated to 400 degrees after spritzing them with some olive oil cooking spray. I baked these for about 25 minutes until the internal temperature reached 165, and while those were cooking, I worked on my orzo. Again, another instance where I think I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. I am cooking up 1 cup of orzo in a pot on the back that you can't see. And while that's cooking, I am working on making the sauce for the orzo. So I have some white parts of a green onion here that I am just cooking up for a couple minutes in some oil. And then I also added in some minced garlic and cooked that for about 30 seconds to a minute. And once that was done, then I added in some chicken broth, some heavy cream, and the cooked orzo, and I stirred that and let it cook for about a minute. And then I'm going to add in some salt, pepper, and lemon zest and let that continue to cook for about another 2 minutes. You just let that liquid reduce. And then at the end, I stirred in some shredded Parmesan cheese and added some more salt and pepper to taste. Here is what the chicken looked like when it was done, and then I served the chicken sliced up on top of the orzo with some extra lemon on the side for everybody. And then we've got this tomato garnish that I thought I recorded and I didn't. I think because I was vlogging this day, I was all over the place, discombobulated. But it's just some sliced in half grape tomatoes, some oil, and then some herbs. And it was delicious and very fresh because that was room temperature. And then add some lemon juice to it too. It was so good. We were all disappointed there was not leftovers. So it's definitely something I will make again and probably make more of the next time that I make it. Saturday night was tuna casserole night, and we've always got to have our tuna casserole with peas. I will have linked down below the original video that I did for tuna casserole years ago, but just keep in mind, now I double this recipe because my kids are bigger now and they eat bigger portions and they wanted leftovers of it. So now I double the recipe, use the whole bag of egg noodles, 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, 4 cans of tuna, so that everybody gets as much tuna casserole as they want. Sunday night we had meatball subs, and a lot of the time I will make these in the crock pot. I will just toss the frozen meatballs in the crock pot with the marinara sauce, but it cooks really fast. 4 hours in the crock pot tops is all you need. Otherwise, I feel like the meatballs are going to turn to mush. So we were going to be gone longer this day, so all I did when it was dinner time was pop the meatballs in the air fryer for about 15 minutes and warmed up the marinara sauce on the stove and then tossed the meatballs in the sauce. And then I had some sub rolls topped them with those meatballs, some cheese, popped it in the oven on 425 for like 5 minutes to melt the cheese, and then served it with a salad on the side. And you'll see our plates. Andy's is the only one that just has the sandwich because he hadn't gotten up to come make his own salad yet, because we all get to make our salad or our fresh veggies for Lily however we want. Monday night, I made sheet pan chicken fajitas. This isn't really like a recipe, but I've made it many times and it's super easy. So I'm starting off by cutting up an onion into strips, and then I'm going to do the same thing with some bell peppers, and then I'm going to do the same thing with some chicken breast. Just cut it thinly into strips and get that all on a sheet pan. And then I'm going to season that all over with some taco seasoning. You could use like a fajita seasoning packet, but I was just using what I had on hand, which is a giant thing of taco seasoning, and then also some olive oil. And then make sure you coat everything really well. And I like to make sure that I pull apart the onion because they like to stay together in chunks, but they get softer and more tender if you pull them apart. So I did that, and then I put this in the oven on 425 for about 40 minutes, and I did toss it halfway through. When it came out of the oven, I made sure it was done, and then I took a lime and squeezed half of a lime of juice all over the whole pan to give it a little bit more flavor. And then I set up our station to build our fajitas. We had some cilantro, we had some lettuce, sour cream, various salsas, and cheese, and then everybody could come and build their plates. We also had some chips and cheese dip and salsa on the side, and Andy was like kind of singing a little song about eating the chips, so I'm gonna let him talk for a minute.
Put the chips in your mouth. Put them in your mouth. In your mouth.
This should be over here.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Put them in your mouth.
Tuesday night we had BLTs. We had some really good tomatoes from the little farm stand, and then I and Lily both ate ours on the sun-dried tomato goat cheese bread that we had bought at the farmer's market. I had frozen half the loaf. Honestly, this bread was very disappointing, both when it was fresh and when it was frozen. It just doesn't have a lot of flavor. It lacked salt, I think, and I've had other sourdough in the past that was way better. It honestly made my sandwich very disappointing. But of course, I had a traditional BLT, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise, and the kids, you know, one was missing lettuce, one was missing tomato, and they like to put cheese on theirs. And then we also had some extra tomato on the side for those of us that like tomato, and then some barbecue chips as well. Wednesday night was another one that wasn't really a recipe. It was just me kind of throwing stuff together. So I had some potatoes I wanted to use up. I peeled them and then diced them, and then I added them to a sheet pan with some fresh green beans, and I drizzled everything with some olive oil, and I'm seasoning it all over with like just random stuff. I think I did garlic powder, onion powder, Badia Complete, and salt and pepper, and then I stuck those in the oven on 425 for about 45 minutes. And then I have this pork tenderloin here that I'm putting in a baking dish. It is lemon garlic flavor, and I'm also going to put it in the oven on 425, but this only took about 30 minutes. And I did make sure to check the internal temperature with my thermometer to make sure that it was fully cooked. We've all pretty much been liking the fresh green beans in the house, except for Elijah. He would prefer canned, but he did eat a couple of them. And then for those of us that like tomatoes, we had some tomatoes on the side. And I think Elijah had like some baby carrots or something and an applesauce. Thursday night was something new, and this is like a recipe from the Lemon 8 app, and it was for a Mediterranean salad, and it was supposed to be a chickpea salad, but we don't do chickpeas except for like in hummus. I only like mashed chickpeas. I do not like the texture of them whole. So I decided to switch out the beans and use white beans instead. I am chopping up a cucumber. I left it in pretty big pieces because Andy doesn't like cucumber, and I knew he'd probably want to pick it out. But then some of the other things, like the red onion, I'm using my little chopper and like finely dicing it. I'm also finely dicing some red pepper, and then I'm also going to do some tomatoes with the chopper as well. and get all of that in a big bowl. And I'm also going to add in some chopped up fresh parsley, some feta cheese, a little bit of oil, the juice of a lemon, and some salt and pepper. And then I mixed it together and decided I needed a little bit more. I decided I wanted more beans. The original recipe is supposed to have olives. I'm the only one in the house that likes olives, so I didn't do that. And instead I added a can of drained and rinsed black beans. And then I decided to add a little bit more oil, the juice of another whole lemon, some more salt and pepper, and then just a little drizzle of some red wine vinegar. And I made this a little bit earlier in the day so that it could sit in the fridge and be ready for dinner later in the day. And then we have some chicken breasts that I marinated in the leftovers of the Greek dressing that I made the other week for our Greek salads. I had a little bit of it left, so I just tossed the chicken in that and let it soak in it. And then I grilled it on our little Cuisinart griddler. It's like a George Foreman. And so we had our bean salad, our Greek chicken, and then I used the rest of the box of falafel to make some more falafel patties. I know people told me it should be balls, but it just seems so much easier to make patties. I can just kind of scoop it out into the oil, and it's really easy. I did accidentally kind of burn 2 of them, but they still tasted delicious. And overall, I'd say this meal was a win. And now it is time for our weekly member shout outs. I wanted to say thank you for those of you that have been supporting me in an additional way by becoming channel members. It really means a lot to me. And if you didn't know, you can become a channel member down below this video. Next to the subscribe button, you should see a join button. If you're on an Apple device though, you will need to go to just like your Google Chrome browser and log into YouTube there to be able to see it, or go to it from a computer, because Apple likes to take their cut of money, and people don't want to give their money to Apple when it can just go to YouTube and myself. So that is why the join button is not there on Apple devices. Again, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. You get a couple extra perks like the emojis on the screen. You can use those in the comments down below. That is going to be it for today's What's for Dinner video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave me a thumbs up and let me know if you plan on making any of the meals that I share with you today. If you made it here all the way to the end, leave me a smiley face emoji down in the comments. I hope y'all have a great week, and I will see y'all on Wednesday with the grocery haul.